Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch Show, we're going to talk about Trump's interview with NBC News, also known as the mainstream media. We're going to show you a little bit of a prayer taking place in public school. How is that happening? And of course, there is a kidnapping that has the entire country watching, including President Trump. We're going to talk about these things and so much more. So get ready, because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. We'll get a few things going here. And actually, you know what we're going to do, Ryan? Let's change the order here. We're going to start off with the kidnapping of Savannah Guthrie's mother. She's 84 years old. You've probably heard about this. Not something I would usually cover on the show, but we're going to start off with it. There was a video circulating last night. It's of the Guthrie kids explaining what it is that they're going through and who their mother is, and making a plea to whoever it is that took this 84-year-old woman that they're ready to negotiate. They want to do whatever they have to do to get back their mother. President Trump has said that he is going to help in any which way he can. I mean, kidnappings usually have the FBI involved anyway, but in this particular case, Trump has offered any significant help he can. I guess it's nice to be a celebrity, even when you're the mainstream media. Some will say that this shows how big the president's heart is. Others question, why do they get special treatment? It's like you pound on Trump and you get special treatment. Either way, here is, I'm going to play it in full. Here is the full message from the family pleading with the kidnappers.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them. And we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny and spunky and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human.
Actually, I'll cut it off there. So that's about half the video you see there. And of course, listen, you have to feel horrible for these people. This is taking place in Arizona. One has to wonder whether or not this is the cartel having taken this woman. But the details of this, Denny has. What do we know exactly, Denny?
Well, Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old, and as you mentioned, she lives in Tucson. She's lived there since the 70s. While she has no cognitive impairments, she does suffer from mobility limitations and chronic pain, which requires daily prescription medication for survival. Her kids have said that without it, her condition can become fatal within days. As in regards to the disappearance, this happened Saturday, January 31st, between 9:30 and 9:45 p.m. She was dropped off by her son-in-law, who is not an official suspect, but some are speculating that he could be now. Her pacemaker last pinged on her iPhone at around 2 a.m. on Sunday, February 1st, which is now leading to a potential window of when she actually disappeared. But she was first reported missing on Sunday morning when she did not show up for an 11 a.m. church service. As everyone kind of knows, Savannah Guthrie and other family members started checking around and haven't been able to find her. And as the investigation has gone on for the last few days, there have been ransom notes asking for, I believe, multi-million-dollar payments to a crypto wallet that can't be traced. So this has kind of escalated into a situation where they don't yet know if these ransom notes actually hold any weight, or if maybe they could be a little more serious based on all the details they have of the kidnapping.
Oh, there you go. So that's the big story that's sort of captivating the country, as we have a morning show talk host pleading for her mother, like we all would if our mothers were in that unfortunate, horrible situation. And of course, we pray, and I did. I prayed this morning for this woman. At 84 years old, she must be completely frightened beyond measure, and you got to hope that she's still alive. And I will go along the side of President Trump has a big heart, and when a national story like that comes to be, he will forget about how it is that the mainstream media, and including Guthrie, have treated him terribly. And you would think that doing something like that would get him a couple of brownie points, but it won't, because the liberals, their ideology trumps everything, all pun intended. Now that we have that out of the way, let me start off by saying my apologies for using a tremendous amount of profanity yesterday. It happens about 2 or 3 times a year. If you've been with me for years, you know that I just unload. And it was funny. I didn't realize how bad it was until I was watching Ryan make clips from yesterday, and it was almost impossible for him to cut out profanity. It was in there every 2 seconds. So I do apologize. We won't do that again for quite some time. I could use it again today. I probably could use it even more today than I did yesterday, but I won't, even though I want to, because I'm going to keep myself calm, because this is something I can't control, what I'm about to report to you. Not yet, anyway. I want to start off, I'm going to play this a little differently. We're going to talk about the 3 things that are most important to Americans as far as I understand it. But I want to play for you because I think this Fox News report from Trey Gallagher is important, because I think what has happened is the president and his White House is getting caught. It's getting caught with an obsession that is ridiculous, and it is driven by the mainstream media. Here's Trey Gallagher of Fox News explaining how it is that the mainstream media has covered the entire Minnesota debacle. Go.
Sincerely confused, because it appears the DHS message about ICE agents going after criminal illegal immigrants has now fallen on deaf ears. The protesters are still loud, violent, defiant. Their political leaders are still launching obscenities in hopes of stirring the pot. And the media still sees what it wants to see. After the shooting of Renee Good, the coverage of ICE on CBS, NBC, and ABC was 93% negative. Common sense knows the legacy media hates Trump and hates ICE, but 93% negative is not journalism. It's tribalism. It is group hate on steroids. And what truly baffles common sense is the very same liberals who are outraged and obsessed with Jeffrey Epstein and going after child sex predators are now impeding, interfering, and injuring law enforcement officers going after child sex predators. Have any of these protesters seen the thousands of illegal immigrants in this country accused of raping and sexually abusing children? Or is the liberal narrative so precious, so profound, and so protected that drifting off course is forbidden? Maybe it's true that hatred generates more votes than love.
Yeah. So it's important for you to recognize the fact that the mainstream media has been putting out a message, and that message has been supported by visuals that are cherry-picked. We have to remember that. These visuals have been cherry-picked by the mainstream media. They get the things that look most horrible. They get the things that look most deadly, And then what they do is it doesn't help much that the bakalavas are covering the ICE agents' faces. It just gives a horrible optic to it. And so you got people at home being like, oh my God, are you kidding me? A mother of 3 was shot by an ICE agent? Why? They never tell the full story. They just make it sound like ICE is out there shooting people who are getting in their way. You're bothering me. Move. You're not going to move? Boom, 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 boom. Look, you always have to remember something. The left dominates movie making. They dominate television. They are pros at making things look real that are not. Whether it's script writing, whether it is creative editing, these people own the narrative because they know how to sell it. The Republicans don't. I just interviewed Dinesh D'Souza the other day on my show. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you put Dinesh D'Souza, you say, hey, here's $100 million. Go out and make a blockbuster film. He and I would be able to do it. He can make his, I can make mine. We'd edit it. We'd have the music. We'd have the script. We'd have the whole thing. But ultimately, if it has anything to do with conservatism, America, the rule of law, it gets tossed out. It gets totally tossed out. So the good work that is being done by ICE will not be covered. We have been putting memes up on Facebook a lot lately. Memes. And for people who don't know what memes, it's an image that has like a statement. And the last 2 memes that we have put out have gone so viral with we should do this every day. What are the 2 most viral things that we've done have come in the last week? One was about Irina, the immigrant from Ukraine, who wind up getting sliced wide open and dying on a train. But because she's a white blonde, nobody wanted to cover it. There were no riots. Where were all the people in Minnesota and North Carolina? Where were all these liberals, these paid-for agitators? Why weren't they lighting the stores on fire? It's an immigrant. She got killed by a guy who had multiple convictions. Oh, because the colors were wrong. The killer was black. The girl was white. Forget about the fact that she's a female and forget about the fact that she's an immigrant. Those 2 boxes usually get checked, but she doesn't have a Spanish last name. She doesn't have a Muslim last name. She's pretty. She's blonde. She was privileged. That nobody hears about it. So when we put it up and say there was no riot for this immigrant, people are sharing the hell out of it. I think it's been shared. It's been seen more than 7 million times. Why? Because people are doing their part to get the news out because the news coverage on NBC, ABC, CBS will never cover it. The second one that we did was a young girl with autism. Autism got freaking raped and murdered by an MS-13 thug. And it's freaking spread all over the place. Same thing, 7 million times it's been seen. Because nobody in the media is covering. So it's our job to cover it. And people want that message out there. But you got 93% negative messaging on all of the mainstream media, plus the CNN and MSNBC or MS Now, whatever they call it. You combine all those shows, folks, you're getting to between 35 and 40 million people every single night just watching it on television alone. And then what happens is those clips go wild on the internet. And the Trump administration is falling for this trap. It is a trap. And the president and his team are falling for the trap. I wound up just seeing here, Denny just brought it out to me. There is a comment here on YouTube. Thank you, by the way. It comes in from a Lisa Kelly. Lisa Kelly says, Dennis, I'm picking you over Dan Bongino today. I listened to you and Dan for years. You are right. I want the truth, nothing sugar-coated. Let me tell you something. I don't know this for a fact, and I got no angst against Dan Bongino. I spoke to him the other day on the phone, and we had a nice little 20-minute conversation. And people are saying he's different. He was supposed to go. He talked like a big tough guy. He went in there. He didn't get a whole lot done, and now he's coming back, and he's going to be the pod father, I think he's calling himself. Okay. Good, Dan. Run with it. I have a lot of respect for Dan Bongino in the sense that the man was a cop. The man was a Secret Service. The man was the FBI. He has tried over the course of his life to serve. I'm never going to take that away from him. But there are rumors circulating on X, and it's hard not to at least give them a little bit of credit, that Dan came back because Trump's like, hey, man, I could use somebody in my ring out there getting out the good information. Tucker Carlson's talking about crazy stuff, and Ben Shapiro only talks about, Israel, and Megyn Kelly's a flake. These are the top three. I need somebody in there that pounds that the Trump administration is the best thing since sliced bread. And Dan will do that all day long. And if that's what you want, let me tell you, he's got a lot of viewers, okay? Unlike me, who bailed out and started to say I'm going to retire, whatever it may be, that guy has only pressed down more and more and more. You want to go be part of that army, go ahead. Here, what we do is we prepare our audience for what's coming. And I can tell you right now, I've had a really, really, really wild 36 hours. Really wild. In fact, I was a little late today to come down with the boys here to get the show ready. And the reason being is because I had to really think long and hard about what I was going to say to you here today. Do I want to say it? Because I have the control over myself to say what I want to and say what I don't want to. And I ultimately came down with one thing. I don't need to be in the top 3, top 4 podcast names. It makes no difference. I'm still going to do my day the same way. I'm still going to be with my boys. I'm still going to be with my family. And my audience is going to be with me till the day I die. I know that. And I'm proud of that. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why it's at Trust DML. Because you know that I have a disease. And my disease is I can't contain from telling you what is in my heart and what is in my brain. I can't do it for the sake of a click, and I can't do it for the sake of a commercial that's going to pay me X amount of dollars. I won't run commercials because I don't sell things I don't use. And so I am going to put together right now for you what my monologue is, and it is going to be coming from the heart. It is going to be coming from my concern. Because I think at this point, I see this administration as the glass half empty instead of the glass half full. And I'm always a guy who kind of goes with his gut. A few days ago, I said, it's probably time to get out of the stock market. And for the third day in a row, we are getting pounded. And that's going to continue. So I'm a feel guy. And my feeling is we are looking at a really bad situation going forward. And so I want my audience, I want my team members, I want my listeners to be able to prepare for what I think is coming. So here we go. When I speak to people, they have 3 major concerns. You could tinker in some other concerns around the way, but overall, if I were to say to people, give me your top 3 concerns right now in the United States, people will say the economy and affordability. They will say healthcare and the prices and the lack of services. And the third is immigration. Those 3 things, I think, are on the tip of everybody's tongue. And I think one of the ways to prove this is that Trump sat down with NBC News for a long, extensive interview that I couldn't even get through. I had to turn it off because I just started getting so upset. And I said, this is my job. I got to go downstairs. No, I said, no, it's not your job. You're retired. You don't have a job. It is what you volunteer yourself to do. And so you know what? I saw it last night. These questions are always the questions that come up because that's what people care most about. So let's start with the economy. Trump is saying that his polling numbers, he told it to NBC last night, that his polling numbers on the economy should be so much better than what they are. And when the commentator asked why, he said, I don't know why they're low. I do. I know why you don't know why, Mr. President, and I know why they are where they are. Because you are a billionaire, God bless you. Your family is totally wealthy, God bless you all. You worked really hard for it. You earned every penny. You deserve it. You've had failures, but your successes have been greater. I'm never going to begrudge anybody. I'm a capitalist. God bless you. And you know what? I've never had a leader in all of my 56 years speak the way you do, in the sense that even though you're rich, you want everybody else to be rich too. It's usually the other way around. People want to keep other people down so this way they can keep themselves up. Trump's not like that. And it's one of his most admirable attributes. But he's blinded by his own light. He loves to see his name in spotlight. That's why he's on NBC. Who would sit there and say to the president, you should do an hour interview with NBC? It's our arch enemy. NBC, CBS, ABC. Why are you giving them an hour? Give an hour to somebody else. So this way we can have a more enriched conversation. NBC only puts these things out to try to make it so this way the president stumbles. And so his administration, whoever's telling him to do this, and maybe it's Trump who says, let's do it. But let's not forget that the chief of staff inside the White House actually sat for months with Vanity Fair. I mean, it's like totally stupid. It's like having Michael Jackson babysit your kid. You just don't do it. And then when Michael Jackson isn't available, you get Charles Manson. It's like, why are you doing that? So the economy is always the number one thing. Let me tell you what I hear back from people. From the older folks, the people who are retired, I hear them have great concerns that the money that they've saved, the measly Social Security they get, isn't going to build the bridge. It's not going to make it, that they're going back to work. They're seeing if they can get jobs packaging groceries at the grocery store. They're pushing carts over at Home Depot, gathering up together. You see these people that they're in their 70s. They should be having their feet kicked up. And instead, they're out there working. And it's not because they're looking to stay busy. There's a lot of ways to stay busy without having to push carts around and package up somebody else's vegetables. But they're doing it because they need the money. Because affordability in this country has become gross. It is a grotesque thing how much it costs people to be an American. Now, do I blame all that on Trump? Of course not. It's a system that is now broken, and Trump continues to keep the same broken parts in place. He may not be doing it on purpose. He may not be doing it because he's lost touch with people. He just has what I think is a broken look at what it is that fixes this. He is actually causing more pain in the years to come. Because the other concern that I get, mostly from people who are between, let's call it 30 and 50, who are still working, they haven't saved enough money yet. They haven't gotten to the point of where they could collect Social Security. They're still putting into it. And yet they're watching this tsunami come at them called AI. And AI is eliminating jobs. If AI is a 9-inning baseball game, we are in the top of the first. And I already talked to you last week about how Amazon has already said it's going to eliminate 30,000 jobs in the white-collar section of Amazon. And today, numbers came out on the economy, and they aren't looking pretty. Tell us, Dennis, quickly.
U.S. employers announced that 108,000 layoffs for the month of January are up 118% from the same period a year ago and 205% from December 2025 last month. The total marked the highest for any January since 2009. At the same time, companies announced just only 5,000 new hires, also the lowest of any January since 2009. And as you mentioned, companies that have had sizable layoffs include Amazon, UPS, Dow, Pinterest, Facebook, Nike, Tyson Foods, HP, Verizon, Zillow, Paramount, and Nestle. And the biggest sectors impacted by these layoffs are transportation and technology.
You know, yesterday, I listen, when I tell you I'm going to do something, you know I'm going to do it. It may take me a little longer to get there than I want, but I'm doing it. And I have great concern about where these things are going, and I don't think the White House has their finger on the pulse. I just don't think they do. If anything, they are helping exasperate this whole issue, doing big deals, AI deals with foreign nations. And we'll get to where that's a freaking bombshell in a bad way coming up soon. I was listening to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins was doing an interview with some guy over in the UK, and I listened to it yesterday as I was doing one of my walks. And Tony Robbins said that his greatest fear for the world, but specifically the United States, he says people don't understand what's coming with AI. They don't understand it. If you are one of the people who thinks that AI is going to wipe out humanity, that's one thing. But in terms of the devastation that it is going to cause our economy, it is going to flip everything on its ear. It is going to change everything. And we may actually go into what would be a universal money system where you just get money for breathing because nobody will have jobs. This is the direction to which it's going. He believes, based on the research he's done and the people that he spoke to, and keep in mind, Tony Robbins has a total of 114 companies. So he's in every industry, and he sees it happening. And he says there's no way right now to stop this because nobody's putting any guardrails in. It just keeps on investing and investing and investing. To put this into perspective for you, Elon Musk just announced last week that he is literally shutting down one of his Tesla factories for making cars. Why would he do that? Is it so bad nobody's buying cars? No, he's replacing it with what, Dennis?
So it's in Fremont, California. He's replacing the Tesla facility with the Optimus robots that he's pushing. They're Gen 3, and his goal is to build 1 million robot units per year.
Robots. So what's going to wind up happening is that the robots, and I was listening to this on the podcast, the crazy thing about the robots, see, right now we're in that first phase, that phase of where it is, I'm going to put a data entry into ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, whatever, and I'm going to get data spit back. And what happens is that system, the more you use it, the more it learns about who you are, what you want, and it just self-learns. The robots are going to be completely different. What they're going to do is these robots are going to replace people. And they were explaining how it will replace people who are doing manual labor. And what will happen is, let's say, for instance, we'll use Denny and Ryan as my test dummies here. Let's say, for instance, we had a construction company. I'm going to have Ryan, who is putting in windows. He's going to wear a jacket, and a robot is going to be connected, if you will, wirelessly to that jacket. And so as Ryan turns around and cuts out the old window and starts putting shims in and doing his tape measuring and his leveling and then putting the window in and inserting it and then putting all the screws in and he has it in, the robot is following all of the moves that Ryan is making. And therefore, what he's going to do is after he winds up putting the window in, he'll take off the jacket. Now the robot knows. Now here's the scariest part. When one robot goes, it's like you stick the robot into the controller, and now all the robots instantaneously understand how to put windows in. So you used one robot, one person in Ryan, a human being, and now you mass produce that. So that's what we're looking at. That's why this is moving so quickly. You know, think about what this would be otherwise. If Ryan was to sit there and teach Denny on how to put a window, Denny would become an apprentice, and there would be this period of time that Dennis would learn everything. He would get the knowledge. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4 person maximum thing that Ryan could teach at a time. We teach one robot. He emulates every move. He fixes the mistakes. We put him in the controller, and now we got 1 million robots that can do the same. Okay, that's how how fast this is going to accelerate. This is why Elon Musk is saying, the hell with building the cars at the rate we are. Let's build the robots. Because eventually you're going to wind up having a robot car. And this isn't like the Jetsons where, you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, this is so impossible to happen. This is going to be in the next few years. So when I go back to the economy, when you got the 30 and 50-year-old that says, what the hell are we going to do? I'm going to be eliminated. I don't have enough money. I was making $150,000 or I was making $75,000 last year. Now I'm making nothing. Where am I to go? And then, of course, you got the kids in college and the kids in high school. And they're clueless right now because schools are teaching them nothing. And they just look and they say, where's the opportunities? And even when it comes to AI, well, what do I need to know to make it an AI? And that's so hard to know. I mean, Google today, you look at the stock market, it's freaking falling today. Google has dropped 5% despite the fact that they wound up beating earnings. Why? Because they said the company said it would increase spending on artificial intelligence in 2026, which has spooked investors. Investors are dumping software stocks this week over concerns that AI tools could replace traditional software products. You know why it's down 5%? Because nobody knows where things are going. You got an investment in AI and investors are like, in what? What are you putting all that money in? What it's going to wind up being, I don't know. People can't feel the tangible. They're nervous. They're scared. And so when I look at this economy and Trump says that he is 100%, he should be getting all the kudos, I don't see it, sir. I don't see it. Then you move to the second concern, which is healthcare. We won't go as deep here as we did in the economy, but let me just say from a blanket statement, think about your own life. I know what's going on in my life. I have a health insurance policy that I have to have because my wife needs certain treatment and my doctor is at Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic only takes certain insurance. And so it cost me almost $3,000. No, it's over $3,000. It's over $3,000 a month. And it's going to $5,000. That's the warning I was given. I can't afford that. How can I afford that? And I've got a deductible. You add Mary and I together, and with Kelly, and Ryan is still on our plan because he's not 26 yet. This is his last year. Our deductible is something like, I think it's it's crazy. It's $19,000 each. It's like my first $70,000 a year, and I don't earn money anymore. My first $70,000 a year is to have services at a hospital that's 3 hours away. And if I wanted to do it here locally, I would wind up paying maybe $2,500 a month, but then I'd be going to a hospital that I wouldn't even send my dog to because we have nobody. We're importing all these people who can't speak a lick of English. So you're paying more, you're getting less, and people say, I don't see anything in healthcare coming up the ramp. Trump just put out this thing the other day about his healthcare plan. It sucks. It's all over the place. It's very easy what we got to do. We got to cut out the fraud. We got to cut out the waste. You got to expand healthcare beyond the states. Just like, your insurance for your car insurance. You need to increase competition. This isn't a hard thing to do, but nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it because they're getting paid off by the healthcare companies and the health insurance companies and big pharma. And if you don't do what they want, you're not going to have money for your next election. Nobody sees that changing. So then at least when you look at it, you say, well, look, if there's one thing, at least we got Trump with immigration. At least there's something here to say. We got Trump with immigration. That's great. And I'll be the first one to say, I've been in the immigration game for nearly 20 years. And I have been calling for that border to be shut down. And everybody was telling me in 2016, build the wall, build the wall. I can't tell you how many followers I lost because I didn't do what these other podcasters do. Getting hashtag build the wall, build the wall. These people didn't know what the fuck They didn't know what the freak they were talking about. Built the wall. We didn't build a wall. And the border's completely secure. So I was completely correct. When everybody else was saying go north and I said no, go south. When everybody else said, build the wall and I said no, just change the way you enforce the existing laws, I was told I was crazy. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was anti this, anti that. You know what I was? Pro-smart. You didn't need a wall. It's that simple. But regardless of who's right or who's wrong, Trump finally caught on. And we stopped the bleeding after Joe Biden let 25 million people into this country. 25 million people. Do you have the analysis on the rent that I asked you to look up?
Yes, but I would like to put the asterisk that this is from Pew Research Center, so obviously these numbers are going to be way down. I would maybe more venture you could just double what I'm reading. But according to Pew Research and the correlation I ran, from Biden's 4 years, he took 5 million. That's what it's giving me. So again, bump up to what you just said.
No, it's not 5 million. But go ahead.
Is way beyond that. But the average nationwide rent in 2021 was $1,200, and then 2022 went to $1,300. 2023 went to $1,500, and then 2024 went to $1,600. So according to this correlation between the illegal immigrants that came under Biden as well as rent increases, there is a 98% correlation.
Okay. So to my point, so you got all these immigrants coming in, legal and illegal, and the illegal immigration is so huge, the rents in this country are becoming colossal in the sense that people can't afford them. And it's an unfair advantage because the illegal aliens or even the immigrants that are coming over, they come from a culture where multiple families live together. And so you could have, and I've seen this firsthand in making my movies, you got 4 families splitting the rent of a house. And so for them, $2,000 a month is no big deal. It's $500 per family. But for Dennis, who, doesn't make all that much money, not combined he can't compete against 4 families. So he turns around, he says, wait, rent used to be $1,200. Now it's $2,000? I can't afford anything. So how do you solve that problem? It's the easiest thing in the world to solve. At least if you're me, the way you solve the problem is you get rid of the problem. And the problem is that it is a massive supply and demand issue. You've got all these millions of people coming in. They all need shelter. They all need homes. And they are competing against the American citizen in an unfair way, like I just explained to you. And if they don't have 4 families to a house, well, even if you go 1-to-1, if Dennis is making $70,000 a year and Juan is making $50,000 a year doing roofing, and he's not paying any taxes, even though he's making theoretically $20,000 less than Dennis is actually making less money when you count in the fact that he's got to pay taxes. So even if you go 1-to-1, he's losing the game. So how do you do this? You've got to get rid of everybody. Think about education. You look at your property tax. The majority of your property tax, the majority of the money goes for education. We are educating children in this country that have no right to be here, and they're costing you 25 to 50% more to educate them because they need an ESL class. They need an ESL person who's going to translate in the middle of the class. So not only is this dragging down American students because we're not getting the right sort of classroom environment, but it's also dragging down your money because you're paying for something you shouldn't have otherwise paid for. You can take this back up into healthcare. Part of the reason why your premiums are so high is because you've got now 25 million more people who don't have health insurance but are entitled to go to the emergency room when they have a sniffle or when they've got something greater than a sniffle. They cannot be turned away. And it goes to being unpaid for services. So it's got to be paid for somehow, and so they dump it on you. So your health care that you're paying for is you're not only paying for you, but you're paying for somebody else that shouldn't even be here. And that's why, see, this is why these 3 things are connected. Economy, affordability, health care, immigration. And so now he's like, hey, we've stopped the bleeding. We got no more people coming in illegally. We're still taking in tons of people legally. Trump just yesterday, I told you, doubled the number of H-2B visas. Those people coming over here, the only people that benefit from that is the visa holder himself and, of course, the person who's hiring him. Everybody else has to pay for the rest of that person. You're paying one way or another. Here's another person who's going to need housing, going to compete against you. Nobody ever looks at it that way. Instead, what they do is they just say, oh, well, this is just, they're filling the jobs that Americans don't want to do. My ass. They're filling a job that some some company owner wants them to fill and is taking all of the stuff that comes with that, the supply and demand, and then throwing it on you. So now, at least you look at Trump and says, well, at least he's going to start to mass deportation process this to death. We're going to start rounding these people up and we're going to start deporting them in massive numbers. We're going to be cutting things off. It's going to be one of the greatest things ever. We get rid of these people and hallelujah, amen. And then you look at last night and Trump sitting down with NBC. And he was proud as a peacock. The first clip that we have here from this interview is the one that made me sick to my stomach. And I'm going to play it first. This is Trump's answer to how things went in Minnesota, where ICE agents were being pummeled by paid-for agitators and far-left lunatics. Play it, Ryan.
Mr. President, speaking of Minneapolis, what did you learn?
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals. But look, I've called the people. I've called the governor. I've called the mayor, spoke to them, had great conversations with them. And then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made. We've done a great job everywhere. The only place there's been a little inflammation has been really, it's not Minnesota because we've done well with
Los Angeles, too. There's been others. Yeah.
Well, I saved Los Angeles. The top law enforcement officer, right at the beginning of my time when they were having riots, before me and it carried into me. If I didn't go in there with the National Guard, with troops, you wouldn't have the Olympics, which I got the Olympics. You wouldn't have the Olympics in Los Angeles. And he said, without the president sending in the troops, we would have lost Los Angeles. Yeah. And you know what? I saved Los Angeles. And we will do it again if we have to. And by the way, we're going to have a very safe Olympics and we're going to have a very safe World Cup.
I mean, the messaging here is so mixed. There's no consistency to it. In one case, we wish we would have gone softer. In the next case, we're going to send in the military into cities if we have to. Nobody knows. This is why the stock market's down. Like I explained to you, uncertainty. Nobody knows. First of all, a softer touch? Are you kidding me? I didn't vote for a soft touch. I voted for freaking vicious, hard-nosed immigration enforcement. No more BS. Go through that freaking like a bull in a china cabinet. That's how we should be going through that blue city of Minneapolis and every other city. The reason why this looked so haywire is because the federal agents did nothing to people who really got in their way all the time. You had two mishaps of two people. One tried to run down a guy in a car. And if you look at her life, it was a complete mess. I'm talking about Good, who's really bad. And then the other one, I think personally, was a deranged, mentally ill person in Nurse Preddy, who spit on agents, kicked an agent's car, fought with them in the streets, and carried a high-powered military-style handgun with allegedly 51 rounds. To me, that says that's somebody who's looking for a fight. If we would have arrested more people, if we would have taken more people and rounded them up for impeding, instead of trying to go at this so it didn't have such a bad-looking optic, The optic wouldn't be there because the protests wouldn't be happening. These people protest because they can get away with it. You go to Texas, they don't allow that kind of crap. And Texas is doing great with the ICE. You go to West Virginia. We just reported this yesterday. They're doing great because West Virginia doesn't get in the way. You try to come here to Florida. We've got laws that say you can't get close to a cop or to a federal agent. If you do, we don't take the crap. And we just let that happen. Softer touch. My goodness. Play the next one. In the next one, this is now, if we're going to go to the next city, we want to have an invitation.
So I want to be clear because it sounds like there is a shift in immigration enforcement here, that there's going to be a shift after Minneapolis. What should Americans expect going forward?
Well, one thing I say to my people, you know, we do a good job. We don't get credit for it. I say they have to ask and they have to say please. When a city is going,
who has to ask and who has to say please?
The mayor or the governor. I don't want to go and force ourselves into a city, even if their numbers are terrible. Like, for instance, I got a call from Jeff Landry, governor of Louisiana. He said, we have a big problem. Could you go in and help us with well, let's see, certain sections. I mean, to be honest with you, certain sections of the state, beyond their famous, beautiful city, certain sections of the state. We have done, not only in New Orleans, we've done a really great job in Louisiana, but I was called. I want to be called. Chicago, we could solve the Chicago crime.
Well, on that question, which cities are you headed to next?
We have 5 cities that we're looking at very strongly, but we want to be invited. We will sometimes call the governors.
Are these cities like Chicago, Philadelphia? Are these the cities?
We could straighten out the crime in Chicago. We've already brought it down 25% just by being there. We could have Chicago be a safe city, just like D.C. is a safe city, just like all of these places that we've gone to. And I look forward. You know, I didn't campaign on that. Yeah. I campaigned on law and order, but I didn't think I'd be going into individual cities and making them safe.
Anything else you can tell us about the 5 cities? The 5 cities, anything else? So Americans are ready?
We'll be announcing them very quickly, but we could do something. As an example, I was called by people. San Francisco said, please, we have a Democrat mayor. He's trying very hard. Would you, friends of mine that live there, it's got crime problems. Would you let him do the job and not come in? Let's see how it works. I said, look, I can do it much quicker, much faster. Don't forget, we remove criminals. We took over 2,000 hardcore criminals out of Washington, D.C. If we didn't do that, 2% of the people create 90% of the crime. Think of that, 2%. So you have a criminal, because it's over and over again, 2% create 90% of the crime. We took out 2,000 people, more than 2,000 people out of Washington, D.C., and we now have a safe city.
This guy is so obsessed with being loved and liked. And I, at his age, almost 80 years old, I can't believe he still doesn't get it. And this is why it's this cycle, this recurring cycle. We never get past it. You know, he's so obsessed with, I need my credit. I want people to be nice to me. I want people to like me. I want my credit. You know how you get your credit? You get your credit at the end. You know? I mean, you know, here internally, we've got a spreadsheet and we look at our numbers and we go through it. You know, and every day that we get something that goes viral, we don't sit there and be like, hey, I need credit for it. I need credit for it. We look at it as a team and say, in the end, when we really look at this at the end of the quarter, we'll see how well we're doing. He's so obsessed with, I mean, look, honestly, Guthrie, I'll give him the, okay, he's got a big heart. He wants to get him. It's all right. You know what I really think truly down? He's just hoping that the next time that he's on, you know, that she mentions him, he gets a good mention. I get it. Everybody wants to be appreciated for what they do. Everybody wants to get credit for when they do something great. But if this is about you, then you're in the job for the wrong reason. You shouldn't want, you know, be a little humble. It's not about the credit. You want the credit? If you just put your head down and do the job that you were hired to do, and stop worrying about the headlines and stop worrying about what some freaks say. 93% negative coverage on the mainstream media. And that is what's luring him in to make these ridiculous statements like, we're very strongly considering cities. Well, there's no consideration. You're the federal government. These are freaking federal crimes that are being committed. Immigration law is federal law. You don't need an invitation to go into a city. What blue Democrat is going to say, yeah, I want Trump to look good. Come on in. Come clean up my city for me. Come clean up my state. It's like waving the white flag. It's like admitting you're a loser. You don't go in and ask for an invite. You're never going to get a single invitation. Just go in and do your job. And anybody gets in your way like Mayor Frey or Governor Walz, stop worrying about what the optics look like. Arrest these people. Put them in cuffs. Arrest them. If you got to wind up letting them go, let them go. But after a while, they didn't worry about arresting you, Trump. Why are you worried about arresting anybody else? You didn't do anything wrong. These people are doing things incorrectly, wrong, and against federal operations. They're impeding operations. Just take it what it's supposed to be and do it. Waiting for an invitation? Well, you might as well sit outside and watch the grass grow. I mean, his friend says, San Francisco has a crime problem. Can you just stay out and let's see if the mayor can fix it? That's insanity. The asking the question is almost as insane as listening and giving the okay. San Francisco has been a hot mess for 30 years, and it only continuously gets worse and worse and worse. Go get yourself a hotel room in San Francisco. Walk out San Francisco, and you're going to have to step over homeless people and try in the process not to step in their feces. There's people shooting up on every freaking last street. Oh, the mayor's got a plan? What plan? You drive down, there's tents all over the place. There's homeless camps everywhere. I mean, I remember going through San Francisco with my daughter and watching some guy stand on the freaking corner, and he had a Home Depot bucket. I'm like, what's he doing? He ripped out his freaking pecker and he starts peeing in the freaking Home Depot bucket. I'm like, where am I? It's like something out of an HBO zombie movie. We're going to wait to be invited in? No, I didn't wait. I didn't vote for you to wait and be nice with a softer touch. I want to freaking take over and get this done. You know, Trump all the time talks about, Operation Warp Speed. It was great. We got the fire. We got the drugs needed for COVID, the drugs that killed people. But he'll still turn around and say, Warp Speed, got it done. What about Warp Immigration Speed? Why aren't we doing that? It doesn't make sense to me. And then there's this clip. Play this one, Ryan. I'll try not to curse.
About immigration, still looking forward now. Your goal during the election was to deport everyone who came here illegally under President Biden. Is your mission now to deport everyone who came in illegally, or just people who have come in illegally who have also committed additional crimes?
We are totally focused on criminals, really bad criminals. Now, you could say people that came in illegally are criminals, but I'm talking about murderers from different countries. We have 11,888 murderers that Biden and his group led into our country. We've captured a lot of them. We've brought some of them back. A lot of them we don't want to bring back because we don't trust the country that they're not sent back again.
Yeah.
Despite how strong the borders are, they'll figure a way to try and get in, and we don't want to, and we'll incarcerate them. But 11,888 murders.
Yeah.
We are after those people. We're after the drug dealers.
Right.
We are after, by the way, a big problem. They allowed to come into our country people from their mental institutions, people from insane asylums that are mentally ill and very dangerous. We're getting them out.
I just read a comment here on the Facebook feed. You can draw more bees with honey than vinegar. Wow. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. The honey is the job, the ability to stay, the ability to send your kids to school, the ability to use our emergency rooms. Oh, the honey's there, honey. Make no doubt. No, we need vinegar in a big way. Vinegar is what's going to get these people not liking the taste of what America is all about for them because they're here illegally, and get them out of here. We're going to only go after the hard criminals, the bad hombres. Let me ask the intelligent people, which are most of you watching this show right now. I want to ask the question. You've got 100 people in this bucket. These people are draining you. I mean, draining you. You have to pay for their food. You have to pay for their insurance. You are paying for their ability to get free food. And they are causing financial hardships for you on every level. If you're retired, you're paying for them. If you're working, you're paying for them. They're taking up the houses. They're raising up the numbers. They're changing your culture. They're committing crimes. There's 100 people. And then you got in this hand 2 people. And in this hand, the 2 people, one of them is a gang member that kills other gang members and periodically, like randomly, will kill or rape an American. And then you got a murderer who has murdered people and somehow is out at large. Where do you want your federal money going? To catch these 2 or to grab these 100? I want these 100. That's where the reasonable person goes. Let's get rid of these 100 and let's let the local guys catch these 2, right? We want them all gone. But if I got to choose between the 2, Trump is going after the hard criminals, the murderers, the gang members, or whatever. Okay, but we're going to let these ones stay? Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change because the number isn't 2 to 100. The number is 40 million to a couple of thousand. The 40 million who are here are the ones who are draining us. They're the ones that are causing the greatest havoc. They may not be in the already murder list and the MS-13 TDA gang listings, but let me inform everybody. These people steal jobs. They steal Social Security numbers. They wire our money out of the United States to some other place. They're funding terrorism and cartels with that money. They are causing your taxes to increase, as I've already spelled out for you. They're overcrowding our schools. They're overcrowding our hospitals. They are taking jobs that they shouldn't be in police departments. It is insanity to say that you're going to leave these people and just go after the big bad hombres. It's not going to put a dent in the problem. And oh, by the way, if you were to take the numbers of all the people in the past 20 years who were killed by illegal aliens in this country, I don't know the exact number. I just only know my history in being in this. I'll round it off to 100. If there were only 100 people, and there's not hundreds, it's tens of thousands that were raped and murdered. Let's just say it's 100,000. Let's just say it's 1 million. We'll say it's 1 million. 1 million people who have been victim over the last 20 years of illegal immigrants, doing illegal aliens, doing something nefarious. I guarantee you the sliver of the gang member and the already murdered person is this big and the other is this big, meaning that if you're going to be killed by an illegal alien, it's usually somebody who hasn't killed anybody yet. They came here to cut the lawn, and ultimately they wound up cutting the throat. So what we're doing is we're chasing the problem. We're chasing the ambulance. We're not getting in front of anything. We're going to leave these people here until they commit a crime. I mean, it's the equivalent of going in and saying to the doctor, I have to tell you something, I'm short of breath. My heart is beating through my chest, and I've got pain in the middle of my chest. And the doctor runs a whole series of tests and comes back and says, Mr. Lynch, you are on the cusp of having a heart attack. Oh, geez. You got to make changes. You got to change your diet. You got to do some exercise. And you got to stop smoking. And you go home and you change the diet and you change the exercise, but you keep on smoking the cigarettes. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here. The biggest problem is not being cut out. And it's frustrating. I'll turn your attention to something else. How many times have you heard me say this president needs to stop all immigration? I mean, there's now actually, there's a House member, I can't remember his name, Gill or Grill or whatever his name is. I love this new guy. He's actually Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law. And he's now putting together a bill that would end all legal immigration into the United States, I think, for 20, 25 years. That's what needs to happen. Because we're being inundated. I'm going to read something to you. We're going to play the video. This is from a girl named Amy Meck. She's fantastic. She covers the whole Islam thing like nobody else. A courageous young student in Plano, Texas, risked blowback by secretly filming what's happening inside a classroom. An Islamic teacher wearing a hijab openly praying to Allah during instructional time, pushing Islamic practices on captive children. This is not private devotion. This is active religious observance during class on the taxpayer's dime, while pre-calculus, or any subject matter for that, is hijacked for Islamic ritual. Would a Christian teacher be allowed to sit reading the Bible aloud for 30 minutes mid-class? Would she even be permitted to keep a Bible visible on her desk without immediate backlash or removal? We all know the answer is no. There's zero tolerance for Christianity, but full access for Islam and Sharia? Ryan, play the video right now, the undercover video of showing a woman doing her prayers in the classroom. So that's what's taking place. And if you don't think that's going to take place more, you're crazy. And you want an invitation? I'm going to play a video for you right now that is going to blow your mind. I didn't even know about this. I just learned about this today because all of a sudden it's trending. The city of Chicago sold its parking meters to the Middle East. Yeah. You want a shock to the system? Play the video, Ryan.
Every time you pay a parking meter here in Chicago, it goes straight from here to Abu Dhabi. In 2008, Mayor Daley made the worst financial mistake in Chicago history. He sold all 36,000 parking meters to Abu Dhabi for a 75-year lease for $1.15 billion. Here's why it's such a terrible deal. The city council only had 2 days to review the contract, and they won it by 40-5. Right after they made the decision, the city found out that they sold the meters for $1 billion less than what they were actually worth. Since 2008, the investors made their money back in 10 years, and so far, the revenue has been over $2 billion in meter parking. But it gets even worse. Every time there's a parade or a festival and they have to close down a meter, Chicago has to pay that company whatever it is worth. And that deal doesn't end until 2083, so your kids and grandkids will be paying Abu Dhabi every time they park their car in Chicago.
You know, I thought I was privy to almost everything. I had no idea about that. You want to talk about selling out your country? Trump wants to get invited to Chicago? Are you... The level of delusion that is hovering over every aspect of our government and our country is beyond this man's words. I can only tell you this. I go back to what I said earlier today where I sat upstairs and I said, I got to think this out before I do this. And I thought it out. And I know who I am and I know who I am not. And like I said, it might be a disease. Maybe if I played a little bit more to the tune. Here, let's see this right now. You ready? Let's go over and check this out. Right now on Dan Bongino's show, he has 80,000 people watching to whatever it is that we'll have. I mean, we had some interruptions here on our internet again, Facebook. I mean, what do we get, 1,000 people per day watching us live? He's got me by 80 times. Go watch his show or listen to the playback today, and you tell me where you got more truth. And that's not a slam on Dan. He's got an agenda, and so do I. My agenda is to help fix this country. And right now, and I'm not going to paint this as being a death spiral and a horror show that is imminent. I believe there's still time left on the clock. I'm going to ask you, before I make my final statement here, if you are on Facebook, Facebook no longer wants to participate in the long-form live shows. They're doing everything they possibly can to discourage people to do it. So Denny is going to post right now in the comments our YouTube link. YouTube has a completely different, I can't believe I'm saying this about YouTube, but they've changed their tune. They have a completely different strategy. They want to be the owners of long-form video. And so we're going to be over there. And I'm not worried about monetization, so I don't care. They want to pull monetization, pull it. You know, I care about getting the message out. So I ask you, please, to go over there and follow us on YouTube. Understand what I'm going to be doing to the best of my ability. It won't happen every day, but it's going to happen a lot of days. I don't see a victory. I don't understand how we're going to pull the victory out in the midterms. I mean, I will try otherwise. I'll keep on pushing and taking everything I possibly can to do to spread a word in short videos that will help us win the midterms. But people know what people know. Somebody who's suffering from this economy isn't going to listen to Dennis Michael Lynch. They don't care. They're not going to listen to Dan Bongino. They're not going to listen to anybody. They're going to listen to their bank account. They're going to listen to their problems. They're going to listen to who's calling them on the phone and saying that they're late for the next bill to be paid. You know, the person who sees that the illegal aliens are still in their school and that they're still doing the jobs on the roofs and everything else, they're going to sit there and say, oh, okay, so we don't have an MS-13 member. How many of you have ever dealt with an MS-13? Go outside today. Do it for the whole week, for the rest of the week and the weekend, and then come back on Monday and tell me. Go around and see how many people you see at the store with an MS-13 tattoo versus how many people you see at the stores who can't speak a lick of English and you just kind of feel they're here illegally. If you run into an MS-13 member, I'll be shocked. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to tell you how it is that you can prepare. Because I think that's where the value is. If we lose the midterms, and right now, I mean, after I watched that NBC interview, I just don't think, I mean, I think his heart is in the right place in terms of Trump. He wants great things for America, but he also wants great things for himself. He loves to see himself in the spotlight. And when that is part of your goal, you can never get to where you want to be. You got to be, in the presidency, you have to be completely selfless. It has to be about everybody else. You don't take this job for popularity. You take this job because you want to help people. And, you know, it's the same thing. I mean, when I started the DML Foundation, we don't have it anymore because I just, you know, like I said, I'm retired. But I didn't make the DML Foundation because I wanted people to come pat me on the back and tell me how great I was. I created the DML Foundation because I wanted to give, you know, people, when I needed help, people helped me. And then what I did was I made sure that every dollar that I wound up taking in from people, that I gave it back and then some. And I didn't want accolades. I don't, it wasn't the part of it. It was because I wanted to help somebody. You know, it's funny. I talked about Tony Robbins before. I was listening to his interview. He said that his objective since he's been a teenager was to help people, to help feed people. And he had a goal that he wanted to give out a billion free meals before he died. And the reason why that happened is because when he was a young boy, they had no money. And he had 4 different fathers. His mother was, you know, sort of a revolving door in that case. And the one father was too proud to take handouts. And one day they had no food on Thanksgiving. The door knocked. Somebody knocked on the door, and it was somebody from the church was giving food. And the father, turned it away and was rude. And the man with the food would not accept no because he saw that there was hungry kids. And finally, the father took it. And Tony Robbins said he was never so happy to have food, that they had no food at that time. And so he has spent his lifetime trying to help other people. And he's done really well as a result for his own personal life as well. But you've got to be selfless, and you've got to be doing this for a greater reason than your own headlines and your poll numbers. You know, in one case, Trump will say, I don't care about polls, they're fake. But then he'll be the first one to read a poll when it's favorable to him. You can't have it both ways. And I know it sounds like I'm trying to crush down on the guy, but I'm just going on reality. You know, if my wife came home every day and told me she loved me and loved me and loved me, but every day I looked at her phone and I saw she was having an affair and doing sext text messages with some other guys, do I really believe that she loves me? Well, maybe she loves me because she's been around for so long, but if she really, truly loved me, she wouldn't be doing that other stuff. And maybe not the greatest example of all time, but the point is this. You're going to change your immigration strategy based on you promised voters something. You're going to change it because you're looking at unfavorable numbers from NBC, CBS, and ABC. Come on, man. I expect more than that. But my expectations, they're not being met right now. And I don't know if they're going to get to that point of being met. So I have to figure out how my family and your family is going to be able to weather the storm. Because if we lose the midterms and it goes to the point of we also lose the Senate, not just the House, the next few years in this country is going to be horrible because we're going to have an impeachment. We are going to wind up having a removal. And likely in 2028, we're going to give it back to the Democrats. And if it goes back to the Democrats, we're never getting it back again. Never getting it back again. We're just taking in too many people legally, and the numbers are going against us. We told you yesterday, you know, the birth rate for whites is almost gone in terms of there being any sort of sense of majority to the white race. They're eliminating us. So when I look at all this, I got to say, okay, how can I help people? So I got to try to help you weather AI. I got to try to help you figure out how to get through having Democrat leadership and everything that you know about America being upended. Because if you don't prepare, you're going to be screwed. You can prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And if the best comes out and we're wrong about these midterms and I'm wrong about AI, and suddenly Trump changes his mind once again and we mass deport everybody, well, the good news is we're prepared for the worst. It's almost like stacking up the shelves waiting for the hurricane. Okay, it didn't come, but at least it's there and it's going to be there for the next one. I just cannot see, with the messaging that I'm hearing right now, I cannot see how victory is going to be grabbed. And so let's look at it from a positive standpoint. Let's look at it. If that does indeed happen, we are going to be prepared for it. And I'm going to work really hard on being able to give that to you. And that's it. I apologize on Facebook. We lost the signal once or twice here, and that's why I went a little bit longer. I have a interview tomorrow, which I think you're going to be very interested in. It's a guy named Keith Gross. He's running for Congress, and his take on matters, I press him on some things. I did the interview yesterday. It's taped. It will be tomorrow. So I think you should check and listen to that, because I think if this guy means what he says and says what he means, if this is sort of the new person that's going to go into Congress, maybe there is a chance. So that will be tomorrow. I also ask you, please, if you want to help us continue, for just $20 for an entire year, you could be part of TeamDML. As I noted, I don't take any money. I'm retired. I'm living off my savings. That being said, you know, to keep my kids on staff here and to pay the bills, so this way I could come to you every day. TeamDML, you get everything. You get all of our articles ad-free. You get all of our newsletters. You get all of our shows, the long formats. You get all my short videos. You get a live chat for $20. This is something that we would usually sell for $200, but I know times aren't great, and I'm just looking for momentum. So if you guys want to help us, if you want to be part of it, you could look at it as a membership. You could look at it as, for $20, I'm going to help this guy. I'm here to help you. So if you could do it, great. If you can't, well, we'll keep on going for as long as we can, because I'm not going to sit on here and sell some advertisement to some crap that I don't use for the sake of lining my pockets like some other people do. That's it for me. Went too long at this point. Until the next time, may God bless you. Hit the share button. May God bless your family. Hit the share button. And may God bless President Trump, because I only want the best for him, but ultimately I want the best for our country more than anything else. We'll talk to you soon.
Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News App from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and TeamDML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News App from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and TeamDML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News App from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and TeamDML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News App from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and TeamDML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News App from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and TeamDML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News App from the Google Play Store or